community. So
It was a toss-up for me. It was either going to be my son's Knights jersey or the Spartans, my adult men's hockey team. It might be Spartans next week. We'll see.
Well, and then if you haven't noticed, Drew and I are wearing some new lids. Got some new lids covering up the dome. The Too Many Men on the Mic gear and swag is officially in. Shout out to 5B Designs and Shannon. Just did a phenomenal job. We're excited to be repping this out, and hopefully we'll be able to get some gear on the heads and on the backs of some of our listeners. So super excited about that. If you're watching online, you can see our hats. Quality stuff. Travis Matthews, Bauer, CCM.
I know you got the Bauer lid you're sporting. I
going
like
with
that.
The Bauer lid. And so, yeah, we're excited. And again, huge thanks to our sponsor, 5B Designs on that. Get a little shout out before the ad read.
All right, real quick before somebody calls in, what you think of the draft?
I really, everything I've heard post draft about, was it Schaefer, the first overall pick?
Mm-hmm.
He's just going to be a dynamite player. And if usually defensemen take a little bit of a time to mature, but he definitely feels like he's got the media savvy and the maturity to compete at that level. It was kind of I don't want to say blah draft,
right.
But what I was most disappointed in, and this is, sorry to my Canadian listeners out there, but I was bummed out that, for the first time in a while, the CHL players, the Canadian Hockey League juniors, really kind of stole the show this year, and we didn't see as many U.S.-born players. Watch out. Next year, we've got some interesting, 07s and 06s, I think, that are going to be hitting the draft board from USA Hockey. So,
well, up 10 seconds, Carbonell, the Blues pick, meat and potatoes. That's what I heard. That's all I need to hear. But I think we're at the point where we've got our first caller coming in.
Welcome into Too Many Men on the Mic. Who's this?
Hello, you're on.
Welcome to Too Many Men on the Mic. Who's calling in? Who's this?
Will.
Hey, Will, how are you? Welcome. Thanks for calling in today. Will, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who you play for? What age group and where are you? Where are you at right now?
I play for the U14 St. Louis Knights.
Awesome. Well, Will, today we want to talk about the sports and the activities that our players out there are doing, and how those sports are helping them be better hockey players. So why don't you tell us first, like, what's your, if hockey's your number one or your 1A, what's your next love?
Yeah, so I play lacrosse for Private Missouri and Burroughs. I've been doing that for about 2-3 years now, and I've just really loved it.
Hey, Will, has playing lacrosse helped your hockey game in any way? Speed, balance, mindset? Could you give us an example?
Oh, yeah. Watch. Like, I've had better stamina. Change of direction has been huge for me, and especially my explosiveness. I've noticed that on the ice too, so that's really helped me out.
Love it. Getting quicker off the line.
Winning those puck battles. Will, you're getting into that, high school age where time is so precious. What's it like juggling more than one sport? I mean, obviously playing for Burroughs and Project Missouri, those are high-level competitive lacrosse organizations, as is the Knights. What's that like for you in balancing your time and making sure you've got time for other things?
Yeah, it can definitely be tiring. I mean, especially school and practice and hockey practice. So I've definitely gotten home and just went to bed. But I just said to myself how it's just the goal of getting better. It's just what keeps me going.
Hey, Will, do you ever notice moments in hockey where something you learned in lacrosse maybe gives you a little bit of an edge?
Oh, yeah, 100%. When I've noticed last season and way more this spring, how my change of direction, like I said earlier, and explosiveness has gotten me to pucks earlier and helped me win 50-50 battles.
That's awesome. Wait, Will, before we go here, there's a lot of kids that are maybe 2-3 years younger than you who maybe are playing more than one sport. Hockey's one of them. what would you say to those kids as they get older and they're having to make decisions? How important and how much more fun is it when you're playing more than just one sport?
Yeah, I think they should definitely stick with it. It's way more fun to play more than one sport, and it will definitely help you in the long run, just with overall conditioning.
Will, man, thanks so much for calling in. Good luck this season, and enjoy the rest of your summer, man. Stay healthy and stay put your sunscreen on.
Thanks, Will.
Yeah, thanks.
Love it.
I mean,
Winning 50-50 puck battles. That's all I need to hear.
I mean, coach's dream,
right?
Absolute. So, looking at Grant, we got more callers. Like, all right, he's nodding. Let's put him on. Let's see what they've got to say. Welcome to Too Many Men on the Mic. Who's this? Grant fumbling the button, man.
It's Too Many Men on the Mic.
Gregory Wood is on. He's not talking though.
Welcome to Too Many Men on the Mic. Who's this?
Braden Hood.
Braden, thank you for calling in. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Great. Thanks for calling in.
Give us a little bit of background, Braden. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you play for from a hockey standpoint, and tell us a little bit about the other sport that you have the love for.
Yeah, I'm 15. I play for school-wise, I play for the Ladue Rams, and club-wise, I play for the Chesterfield Falcons. And the other sport I play other than hockey is baseball for the St. Louis Redbirds.
Nice. How's that? How has playing baseball helped you in hockey, Braden?
Well, I would say the biggest thing is hand-eye coordination, because in baseball, you have to be able to, find where the ball is on a pitch when you're trying to hit. In the outfield, because I'm an outfielder, you have to get your glove in the right spot to be able to catch the ball. You have to make a good throw. And in hockey, it requires so much hand-eye coordination, too, like tipping pucks in front of the net, catching a pass, and shooting.
I mean, tipping a puck, hitting a baseball, hitting a round object with a round bat. That's coming at you at probably at your age, plus 70, plus 80 miles an hour. I still think is the hardest thing to do in all of sports.
Yeah.
Braden, tell me a little bit about, moments that you're in hockey were something that you've learned in baseball. And it doesn't have to be physical. It could be, some of the mental aspects that you've trained yourself to be a better baseball player. Does any of that translate? Is anything that you've learned playing baseball, an excellent baseball player, translated over to your hockey?
Yeah, I think there's really two big things, at least from what I've experienced. I think you have to be able to take criticism. Because, your coaches and players are always trying to make you better, even if you make a mistake. And even if you do make a mistake, they're going to bring you up. Like, even after it happens, they're going to tell you, no, you got this, just make the play the next time. And then the other thing I was thinking was, what was it? All right, I'm not even going to let it get lost.
No,
that's
no
okay,
worries.
man. That's quite all right.
Hey, Braden, what's it like juggling more than one sport? How do you stay focused and motivated in both?
Well, baseball and hockey, while there are some similarities, the main bases of the games are pretty different. In hockey, you're trying to score goals. In baseball, you're trying to get around the diamond and score at home plate to get runs for your team. And they're also just played usually in different seasons, so it is pretty easy to juggle both things.
Well, I'm gonna, end on this. When you started playing baseball, you started playing hockey. Was that at the same age? Was it, would you start baseball first? Did you start hockey? And then as you've progressed, has there been other things that you've tried, but these two have been your main sports, and why is that?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think I started off with t-ball when I was very young, and then I got into hockey a little later. Baseball was kind of on and off for a little bit because I tried other sports like basketball and soccer. I quit those to go back to baseball though, and yeah, I think I've been playing hockey though since I was 7, and I've been playing baseball for like 3 years straight now. So I think I'm staying on this road.
Well, that's awesome, Braden. Best of luck in the baseball season and the hockey season.
And hockey, yeah.
And I know that it's going to be pretty fun and successful summer with baseball and lead you right into an awesome hockey season. So thanks for calling in and thanks for being a listener.
Thanks, Braden.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Grant's got him stacked up today, man. Look at him, he's shaking his head.
But that's the way to do it, right? That's a great example of a full year, right?
Yeah.
Hockey and baseball kind of working and yang back together.
Well, and look, full transparency. We coach Braden.
We do.
And he is managing his time between two very demanding sports, and he's excelling at both. And I could not be more proud of him for that.
Agree.
So it's awesome, and that just shows that to all these other players and parents who want to specialize. I think the through line here is most of these kids that we're going to be talking to or that are calling in have played multiple sports and has helped build a really strong foundation and love for the games that they play, including hockey. So, Grant, we got another one stacked up. Let's go. Thank you for calling in. Too Many Men on the Mic. Who's this?
This is Liam.
Liam, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh, excellent. Thanks for calling in today. Let's talk a little bit about the sports you play. Give me who you play for hockey, and tell me about the other sport that you're passionate about.
I played for St. Louis Knights in 2011, and the other sport that I'm passionate about is pickleball.
Love it. Pickleball. You know what? I have a hard time serving, Liam. So I've got a shoulder issue. I can't get the racket up above my head anymore. So pickleball is my speed now. So I absolutely love it. So how has playing pickleball helped your hockey game, and in what way?
I feel like pickleball has helped my hockey game with kind of hand-eye coordination, stuff like that. Like it helped me get different balls that are hit at me hard, and then help me make quick decisions on where I want to place the ball, and then translates over to hockey on where I want to make the pass or what play I want to take, what lane of the ice I want to take.
Hey, Liam, how often are you playing pickleball? And I'm assuming you're both an indoor and outdoor player.
Yeah, it depends on the season and the weather, but I can play whenever I can, whenever I have free time away from hockey.
What are some aspects of pickleball beyond just the hand-eye coordination? I mean, I always tell a lot of my players in the off season to play a lot of tennis to get that lateral movement and work on different muscle groups than the typical, like hockey stride or the muscle groups that you use when you're playing hockey. Tell me a little bit about what playing pickleball does beyond just the hand-eye coordination for you, and how does it translate?
Yeah, I mean, you're constantly, like in pickleball, you're still constantly moving. You'll try and get back to the kitchen, but then there's always balls that are out of your reach that you got to maybe shuffle for. Maybe it's a lob over your head that you have to go run back, scramble back up to the net, and then it helps you get your footwork straight and make sure that your feet are set for when you hit a shot, so that you can give it all the power you want.
I officially need you as my partner because that's the most technical technical description of pickleball I've ever heard, and it's awesome.
Love it. Liam, do you think that playing multiple sports makes you a better overall athlete or teammate, and why?
Yeah, I for sure think it makes me a better teammate because in pickleball you got to constantly talk to your partner and I got this shot or you go or me, and then it translates to hockey. You always got to be talking out there in hockey too. It just shows you, like in pickleball, if someone doesn't talk to you, then you're all over the place. You don't know what's going on. It just shows you how communication is such a big part of really every sport, and you just need it to be able to win and be a good team.
Words of wisdom from Liam. I absolutely love it. Communication is key. Liam, thanks so much for calling in. Have a great season this year, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you very much.
And Grant, I think we've got another caller here. Thanks for calling in to Too Many Men on the Mic. Who's this?
My name is Tatum Pullum.
Caden Pullum. Hey, how are you, buddy? Thanks for calling in.
I'm doing great.
Tell us a little bit about Caden Pullum. Besides, where you play hockey, what's some of the other sports that you're passionate about?
I go to Vianney. I started running track freshman year, and that's my favorite sport.
What races do you run in track?
This year, I think my main focus is the 400 and the 100.
He's a speedster. The 400,
Nice.
Isn't the 400
Yeah, no long distance.
Yeah, the 400's the hardest distance, right? That's what everybody tells me.
Yeah, I'd say it's a full lap, but like it's not long enough to pace yourself, so it's just all out sprint. Yeah, it's pretty rough though.
Caden, who do you play for? I'm assuming you play for Vianney. Do you play for anyone else?
I play for UAC now.
There you go. So tell me a little bit about, since you've been competing in track, it's an individual sport unless you're in a relay. How does that mindset and some of the athleticism that you have to put into track, how does that translate over to your hockey success?
Yeah, you have to have this, like going into each race. It can be very scary at times, just to reform. You're going to put yourself through all this pain at the end. You just have to get your mind right. You have to be in that sense where you tell yourself, I'm going to succeed, I'm going to do good. And you have to have that same confidence going into hockey, of course. You can't be going there and being yeah, I'm going to do bad, I'm nervous, I'm scared. When you're going to play scared, you have to be all confident. You have to say, I'm going to win, I'm going to succeed. So I'd say the mindset aspect is totally correlated a lot, especially with individual races when you don't have anybody else helping you.
Do you ever notice moments in hockey where something you learned in track and field in the 400 gives you an edge?
Yeah, totally. I mean, track is all speed work, so it's all. I noticed like almost immediately freshman year when I ran track and I went to like Central Districts, I think. I just noticed I was that much faster because of all like the quick twitch muscles you're working on, and especially in the 400. It's like a sprint. So it's about the same time as a hockey shift. Actually, it might be like 40, 50 seconds to a minute, as far as you can, and then you're done.
All of my players need to run the 400 is what you're saying, Caden, right?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Guess what, guys? We're headed to the track.
Yeah, head to the track. No more Art Hill. We're going to the track. Caden, what's it like juggling, the two sports? I know that, and I assume are you doing indoor track or is it just outdoor? Do they have any overlap with the hockey season?
I just do outdoor right now. I think I'm starting indoor in like a month or so. It's during the winter, so you really can't. Like, there's no way you can balance that. But with outdoor, for high school especially, it starts right about like when I'd say all high school hockey is over.
Mm-hmm.
But like Central State's playoffs, that's probably happening around the same time that track starts, and then nationals, if you make it, would definitely lead in the track season a little bit. And then you just have to tell, like, I said to tell my coach, like, hey, I won't be there for the first, however many weeks of track. And they're very cooperative and understanding. So I wouldn't say it interferes that much. A little bit in the summer, I'm doing like these workouts, and I have like these summer league. Obviously, it's not that bad, but I mean, it's manageable.
There's no if in making nationals, Caden. Well, Caden, thank you so much for calling in, man. Obviously best of luck to you as you work out through the summer and get ready for the hockey season. And, we'll be watching and listening for some exciting news for you on the tracks as well, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
That's it. No more callers.
We're out. We're not stacked.
We got no more.
Stacking rack.
That was rapid fire. I liked it.
That was excellent. Hats off to Grant. There you
Yeah,
go, man.
nicely done.
They were on. Oh, I got a bell.
Got a bell.
I just didn't realize that they were on air. It takes them a second, I think, to realize that you're ready to talk to them.
Absolutely. Well, I think for me, at least from a coaching standpoint, from a parent standpoint, there has been this school of thought amongst a lot of parents that I've come to know, and even myself to some degree, that, gosh, you don't want to miss anything with hockey. You want to make sure that you show everybody you're fully committed. And these 4 young men who are all highly successful hockey players and talented hockey players are bucking that trend and showing you like, hey, I'm actually a better hockey player for this.
Yeah, there's something I loved from each one of them. The one that I do want to highlight at the end, or I think it was Liam that said communication, right? So we could sit here and talk about skill all day long. I thought that was a really solid point that he made.
Yep.
You got to talk to your teammates. And I feel like when we're on the ice and we're coaching kids or we're around kids or coach that are coaching kids, that is, you want to hear noise on the ice. You want to hear talking. Hey, I'm open over here, whatever your call is going to be, but you're signaling to your team, you're helping your team, not only with your skill work, your footwork, all the things those gentlemen said, but also your communication.
Well said, well said. We have to head into a break here, but before we do, I want to talk to you a little bit about 5B Designs. St. Louis hockey families and business leaders, if you need custom gear that stands out and stands for something, it's time to meet 5B Designs. Founded by Shannon Brahini, a proud St. Louis mom and entrepreneur, 5B Designs is a woman-owned small business that brings purpose to custom apparel. Whether you're suiting up your youth or high school hockey team or leveling up your company's branded swag or getting your too many men on the mic lid, 5B delivers top-notch quality with a personal touch. You need a team store? No problem. If you have corporate polos or event giveaways, they got you covered. 5B makes it easy with a fast turnaround, flexible service, and designs your players and employee will love to wear. Check them out at stores.inksoft.com/5B Designs, the word FIVE 5, and see what purpose-driven apparel looks like.
You've seen this. It's brand new. Are you
stellar commentary, I feel like, that last segment on playing different sports, how that helps, and how it transfers over to hockey. This upcoming segment of Too Many Men on the Mic is brought to you by Big Bear Tournaments, your go-to for unforgettable youth hockey travel experiences. Big Bear hosts spectacular tournaments in some of the coolest hockey towns across North America. This week, we're focusing on the Midwest region, cities like Oxford, Ohio, home of Miami University, Indianapolis, Indiana, home of the Indy Motor Speedway, and the NCAA Hall of Champions, to lesser-known cities like Springfield, Missouri, the birthplace of Route 66, and even big cities like our very own St. Louis, known for the Arch, the best blues musicians, and some of the best hockey in the nation. Many of these locations are filling up fast, and limited space remains at 8U through 18U. Register today at bigbeartournaments.com. Plan your next great trip at bigbeartournaments.com, and don't forget to tell them Too Many Men on the Mic sent you.
Well, that's a great segue here. Talking to great hockey players and understanding, their passions for sports other than hockey. We're going to pivot back to the sport of hockey because that's what we're here to talk about. And, I think we've mentioned this before, and I think it warrants mentioning again. Before we launched this show, we had a couple of focus groups. And in one of those focus groups, we were focusing on novice coaches and hockey moms, and they gave us a ton of topics to talk about. We're going to hit on really topics that are intertwined with the cost of hockey, because let's be honest here, hockey is an expensive sport. And right now in the St. Louis area, with different youth hockey organizations and high school hockey organizations opening up their registration, families are having to budget and plan for the upcoming season. It's a real thing. We're going to spend some time talking about equipment, and really in two categories here. When you talk about equipment and the cost, and then also the fit and the importance of having, specifically, like your helmets, your skates, and your gloves, budgeting what I would consider, the high end of your equipment budget on those three items. But let's talk a little bit about, equipment to start off with, and I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, so I think of over the learn to play all the way to 18U journey, there are many opportunities. And what I mean by that is you'll find some youth hockey organizations and cities will have learn to play hockey for free. Sometimes you can get a bag of equipment. Think of it as essentially a starter kit, but cannot stress it enough. Very, very valuable. Hundreds of dollars worth of gear that's in there to get your son or daughter started on their journey. Beyond that, once they get into organized hockey, and what I mean is they're on a team, right? So then maybe they're on their first just 6U team. I can't tell you how many parents I spoke with that were asking me, what should I do? Should I get skates? Should I go get brand new skates? What do you recommend? I'm a big fan of used gear because your child is growing so much during that period. Kids are always growing, but I feel like especially that, maybe 6U to 8U, maybe even up to 10U kind of range, that it's okay to go get used gear. Local youth hockey organizations frequently do an annual swap event where they will go to their particular youth hockey team community and say, hey, is your kid growing and outgrown some of their gear? If so, you can sell or donate equipment to the organization, and then they have a day once a year where you can come in and grab that stuff. There's also great stores, at least in the St. Louis area, I'm sure in other towns too. One I like to go to is Play It Again Sports. Very organized, clean stuff. They really don't take any beat down, scratched up, dinged up kind of stuff, at least I've found. So I would start there with those two. You get your bag of hockey for stuff for free right as you're learning to, quite honestly, skate and hold stick and do that kind of stuff. And then as you get on your journey a little more, consider maybe some used options.
Yeah, 100%. I think Play It Again's great. There's also some great online marketplaces, specifically Sideline Swap, which doesn't just cater to hockey. It caters to a whole host of different sports, but they have a great hockey community on Sideline Swap. Facebook Marketplace here locally is phenomenal. And then you mentioned it, but I want to call out 3 clubs specifically that do equipment drives. Obviously, the Blues have a phenomenal equipment drive where they're collecting, gently used or refurbished hockey gear and distributing that. The Kirkwood Stars have also been
That you're repping.
I know, right? This one's for you, Todd. The Kirkwood Stars also have done and continue to have equipment drives, and then the St. Louis Rockets are huge into the equipment drive with their icebreaker kickoff party. And I'm guaranteeing that St. Peter's, Chesterfield,
Oh, sure.
Afton, they all do that. But the key is, especially if you're new to the sport, you have to know where to look and know who to ask. And so we're hopeful that we can provide a little bit of guidance there.
Now, even a little bit more guidance. I would say everything we said with a caveat.
Yeah.
You to fit.
Yeah.
And that's tied into my caveat.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, a helmet I would purchase. I would not get a used helmet unless you truly believe it's a helmet that has some recency to it. Because one of the things they do with helmets is they change the technology each year that's reflective of safety.
Yep.
So if you're going to get a used helmet, get one, I would say, that's probably been manufactured in the last 6 to 12 months. I feel like at least on an annual basis, they're changing that out. You really don't want an old helmet unless you're an old guy playing adult hockey.
Or you're a coach who wants to show the kids, your dome and your lid from 1994.
Right.
There's another.
You do have a Gretzky helmet, by the way, the Jofa.
I've got a Jofa and a Lemieux helmet, but I'm not out there doing contact. Although I did score a game winner in the Lemieux helmet in my men's league a few years back.
See,
about the helmets, a lot of parents probably don't know this, but there is an expiration date on helmets. So in the United States, we have what's called the HECA sticker. It's HECC. It's a sticker, round sticker, white sticker on the back of every helmet. It's a certification that helmet meets certain industry and sport standards, and it has an expiration date on it. So if you're buying a used helmet, again, to your point, know what to look for. A place like Play It Again Sports is not going to sell a non-certified helmet. But if you're going to Facebook Marketplace or eBay or even Sideline Swap, you want to make sure that those are some of the knowledge in the back of your head. If it's a Canadian helmet, it's going to be a certified hockey helmet. And that will also have, it's a circular sticker. It'll be right next to the HECA sticker. But either way, that basically is something to look out for. Again, another little tidbit that if you aren't doing this on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis, or if you're new to it, you're going to miss it. And so those are the types of things that I think from a helmet standpoint, you've got to look at.
yeah, and probably gloves is in there too. But it's interesting with gloves. I know a player that actually loves wearing his equipment, I'll say damp to almost wet. I have been with this kid out of town on tournaments.
That's
and
gross.
have offered him, hey, why don't you take your stuff out, air it out? We got a couple hours between games. And he goes, no, actually, I kind of like it a little damp, wet.
If he's performing, let's go with
Exactly.
Let's go with it.
Exactly. But what I would say is gloves wear. I mean, they just wear and wear and wear.
Yeah.
My younger son last season burned through his first set of gloves, I think, in the first 2 months.
Yep.
So for that reason, I would recommend purchasing new gloves. And as your kid grows, you're going to have to size up.
Yeah. I've coached kids who have worn their gloves that they're playing as a 14U and they're wearing the gloves they wore as a 10U. And unless you're not growing, that glove is not going to provide the adequate protection of your wrist and forearm. And so that's, as a parent, another aspect of this is my player doesn't want to change, or I can't get him to try a new. It's like you've got to kind of put your foot down and say, well, would you rather get a broken forearm or a broken wrist and not play hockey for 3 months? Because that's the alternative, and that will happen, especially as your players age and get into more demanding and physical style of hockey.
I'm glad you said that because I have had that conversation with kids on the ice before. Let me see your gloves. When you can see, it really needs to be covering up your wrist. You'd like it in a perfect world for the glove and the elbow pads pretty close and not necessarily rubbing together. But if it's noticeable, to your point. then it becomes a safety thing. So, but gloves are gloves for sure. I would consider as a purchase. Now, the third, here we go. This is going to be probably a lengthy conversation. It's skates. Okay, skates. It's as personal as a guitar. It's just a personal thing. It's a personal preference, and it's all across the spectrum. Where I will start is if you go to a place and get used skates, you might hear somebody say, oh, the skate has been baked or it's fit to, whoever wore the skate last. Most places you can rebake skates. You can take those used skates, rebake them, have your player put their foot in, and it will remold. The technology is good enough to do that. So don't think just because you've got a used pair of molded skates that, that's what your kid's going to have to work around. You can rebake them, reset the skates.
Yeah, and I think the biggest piece beside the fit of the skate itself is the steel. And if you were looking at a skate that was made, in the last, call it 5 to 7 years, whether it's CCM, Bauer, True, they have these quick change blades, because if your steel is worn down, and this is something that, like, Play It Again is not going to change the steel on a pair of skates that they take in. You can actually go, and for a fraction of the cost of a new pair of skates, I think the lowest level Supremes that I saw were $350. And I remember when I was buying skates, that was like an ungodly amount for a pair of skates. And so, changing out the steel, if you've got a skate that fits well, is a lot less expensive than, diving in and buying a whole new boot and tuck and steel.
And as your kids get older, then what I find is you'll be coaching kids out on the ice. You'll look at their skates and say, man, those look pretty dinged up. But just like a guitar, a very personal item, they'll say, no, I love my skates. I don't want to do anything with them. My older son had a set of skates that I swear looked like they went through a war. And that was his answer to me was, I don't mess with my skates. I love my skates. I don't want to change anything.
My cousin, who played in Canada, and he played at Lindenwood years ago, had like the first pair of Nike skates, and they were so worn out he didn't want to change them out. He actually had a hole in the side of the boot. He put epoxy on it. But as we transition to the second part of this and talking about the cost, this all comes down to education. When you go to a hockey retailer, part of the premium you pay is the overhead. It's the expertise of those folks. But it's, if you don't have a level of, knowledge about equipment, then yeah, you're going to probably pay that $500 to $1,500 startup fee for just the equipment. And sometimes most people that I've dealt with at the hockey retailers are really great folks, but every once in a while you get somebody who's, trying to sell you into something you don't want. It's like saying, hey, you go in there, you tell somebody you're thirsty and they're offering you a sandwich. It's like, hey, I want to spend, this amount on this piece of equipment. And they're saying, well, yeah, but for an extra like $50, you can get this. And again, it's have that knowledge and understand that for things like shoulder pads, elbow pads, your shin guards, your pants, this is stuff that if you can get it gently used, and for your kids, no one's going to see them anyway. You under the jerseys, under the socks. Do yourself a favor, do the research, reach out to us at Jared@TooManyMenOnTheMic.com or Drew@TooManyMenOnTheMic.com if you have questions. We've answered probably every conceivable equipment question from parents and players over the years, and we'd love to be able to share that because it's an expensive sport, as we're about to talk about here, as we get into the bigger cost.
Yeah, and I've been around hockey rinks the last 2 years, and this is a common ism that I hear out of parents, usually along the glass at the ends. There will be a kid that breaks the stick on the ice, and it's like $1,000, $2,000. There's $300.
Every parent no matter what team you're rooting for. And look, let's not sugarcoat it. There's some games where the parents hate each other more than the kids on the ice. If you see a stick break, every parent in unison has that empathy, and it's just like, oh, dude. Yeah. So, but sticks,
hope it's under warranty.
but we're going to talk about sticks in a separate subject down the road, because beyond just scoring goals, making crisp passes, and being able to play hockey, there's a component to stick fitting that actually provides safety, and we'll talk about that. I think sticks deserve their own segment.
Yeah.
And for people who have played, on teams that I've coached, you'll have heard me talk about having the right fit of your stick is actually going to help prevent a concussion. So kind of like the freakonomics of hockey. Stay tuned for a future episode. We'll talk about that, but don't skimp on the sticks. Don't skimp on the stick.
That's a new ism, freakonomics.
Well, I see you're thirsty, so I wasn't going to offer you a sandwich. All right, so that's a great segue, because obviously, a stick is a huge expense, and it's usually something that you're going to have to buy multiple times throughout the year. As we look at the cost of hockey, as we talk to our focus group, there was a common through line through all of the different subgroups in that the cost of hockey, and there doesn't seem to be a scene. And unfortunately, hockey is certainly not unique to this. I know from friends of mine who have kids who play youth soccer or AAU basketball, swimming, which I don't understand how swimming can get that expensive, because, but it's super expensive. Some of this is just the culture that we've created, and there's a whole other show for that topic. But if you're just on a regular AD travel team, and I say regular, I mean that with air quotations, if you're on a team that's not considered a select high-level team that is, you go into that with your eyes open, there's going to be a premium to play on those teams. I mean, you're looking at an estimated cost with equipment, upfront and replacements, the league fees, team fees, travel, if you're doing 2 to 4 tournaments, ice time. You're looking at somewhere north of $5,000 per player to play youth hockey right now. So we've got to find ways to cut it.
Yeah, and a component of what you just explained that not all of our listeners may understand is the team fee piece.
Right.
So let's talk about team fees for a second, and what is a team fee, and why is that considered part of my cost? But what has been your experience with team fees, and then I'll share mine.
Well, I think there's two big components of the team fees. One is how much and how far and how expensive is our travel going to be outside of playing against our league?
And are we going to travel?
Are we going to travel?
We might not be traveling.
Yep.
We may be a tier 2 non-elite C team, and we're going to play local tournaments, and there is nothing wrong with that at all.
Absolutely not.
But there may be some teams that decide we want to go out of town once or more this year. And so for those teams that are considering that, that is not part of your registration.
No.
Most youth hockey organizations I've encountered, that's not included as part of your cost, especially as you get older.
Yep. And then for some of those teams, and this can be any level actually, we always equate what we call a paid coach or a coach who does not have a son or daughter on the team,
right,
as a high level kind of feature for hockey. But actually, if you've got a B or an A, A team or a C team where you don't have a potential coach in the parent ranks,
right,
then many of these organizations are saying, well, we have a coach that can come coach you, but you're going to have to pay him or her X.
Right.
And so again, I feel for the managers, because you've got to be the bearer of bad news. Hey, by the way, your $400 or $250 is due in addition to the $2,500 that you just paid to register. These are the things that as a hockey family here in St. Louis, we've got to try and do as good of a job as possible to make sure people are educated, but more importantly, know that there are some resources out there that can help offset some of these costs.
And one of those resources is Big Bear tournaments.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that they have their wholesale pricing piece. So if you are a team manager, one team manager of, let's say your organization has, I'm picking a random number, 20 teams in your organization. across the board. There is an incentive to get your team managers together and talk about where you're planning to go. If you can organize that, especially this time of year before the season gets kicked off in the fall, and say, you know, we're thinking about going to 10 different cities. Again, I'm picking a number for 20 teams. You can go to Big Bear, have that discussion with them, and instead of paying the price of going to a single tournament, since you're grouping them together and lumping them together, Big Bear Tournament's wholesale pricing is perfect for that. So that is a great way to bring team fees down.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I love about their offering.
And for the individual families that love this game but have to live in the reality of you know, keeping a family budget in place, you know, organizations like St. Louis Hockey Foundation, the 47 Fund, which is run through the St. Louis Rockets, and several other grants and not-for-profit organizations. The St. Louis Blues as well have a foundation. Reach out to trusted folks in your organization. I know it's a difficult conversation to have, and you know, just know that there are people within this community, organizations within this community who are investing in continuing to grow the sport and are eyes wide open to see that these costs can get a little exorbitant. There's a word for you.
Exorbitant. That's a big word.
Yep.
Right there.
We're closing in on the end of our 6th episode here. Again, thank you to all the callers and listeners. Drew, I think that there's a St. Louis Blues event coming up that you wanted to touch on real quick.
Yeah, St. Louis Blues. It's July the 24th. I'm pretty sure I've got that date right. If I butchered that for some reason, I'll make sure to post something out on Instagram, on the Too Many Men on the Mike handle, or we'll put it out on the podcast again next week. But my recollection is July the 24th, the Blues are having a Learn to Play Ball Hockey. And this is a great entry into seeing if your son or daughter are interested in playing the game of hockey. Boy, I played a lot of ball hockey. I'm so old that I had a concrete basement, and we had the old-fashioned roller skates. Roller skates with 4 wheels on them. And I would play with all my older brother's friends and try to keep up with them. And you had poles in the basement, so you had to make sure you kept your head up so you didn't skate directly into a pole.
There you go.
I'll stop there.
Well, hey, thanks everybody for listening. Preview for next week, we've got our first USA Hockey Show contribution from Bob Mancini. There might be another local announcement that we'll have that'll be exciting for all those high school hockey players out there, but that's just a little tease.
Hey, Coach, real quick, I did leave out that Blues Learn to Play Ball Hockey is over at the Brentwood Outdoor Rink. That's over by Target in Brentwood, if you know where that is.
Hey, if you're still listening, hang on and listen to Kelly and Gordon and In Your City show. And again, thanks to all the callers. Thanks for all the listeners. Peace.
See ya.
People ask all the time, who the heck is Low Cost Airlines? Well, we're not just one airline. When you're talking to us, you're talking to everyone. We are the discount